When was that?
We hired her this fall, and all she's doing.
Well, good Monday morning. It's 2 minutes past 10 o'clock, and we're already up to around 36 degrees up at the Payson Airport right now. A little colder in some of the lower lying areas. This morning on KRIM's Community Spotlight, we're talking with Dr. Judy Hunt from the Payson Christian Clinic. And Judy, how you doing?
Doing well this morning. Kind of cold, but doing well.
There was pause there.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about...
I know every doctor I've talked to, it seems like they're all just overwhelmed with all this COVID stuff and everything.
We are overwhelmed. Definitely.
Physically, emotionally, and otherwise.
Have no margin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And so now, even in a news report that I did last week, after seeing an ER last week that was really overloaded a week ago today, I mean, I could see what was happening there. What about the Payson Christian Clinic? I mean, there's a lot of people that you serve there that don't really have any other alternatives financially. How's that working out for the Christian Clinic?
Well, Randy, I praise God because our prayers have always been that we would be a lighthouse, that would be able to take care of the people that don't have insurance or the uninsured.
Right.
And we've definitely been given that blessing because a lot of patients don't know where to seek help.
Right.
And so in some ways we become also a clearinghouse of information.
Right.
And it's been a joy to be able to help people that are scared, that they're worried that they have COVID, they don't know where to go.
Right.
But they also need to have health care that is apart from COVID. So they're very happy that we're there for them.
Right. Right. So overall, you know, aside from COVID and everything else, how are things going at the Christian Clinic? I mean, you've had some big advances as far as increased facilities and all kinds of things going on there this past year.
We're working on the plans for expanding the building, so
Right.
that'll include the dental suites and the counseling center, as well as some teaching area.
Right.
We had to put it on hold because of COVID.
I bet.
We had to make the choice as to whether or not we paid Marion
Right.
and our front desk person. We wanted them to continue to have a consistent job and consistent wage.
Right.
They're the only two people that we pay administrative
Right.
wise.
That's a lot of glue holding things together there.
There is, and you know, we still need somebody who is a nurse to be able to check the lab work and get a hold of us.
Right.
So it wasn't like we could shut down. But some of the money from the building fund I just had to use, or we as a board had to use, just to keep the clinic running.
Right.
The other thing is that the architect had said to us that it was going to be double the price for our remodeling that it was before COVID, so that we were going to have to raise some more money in order to be able to do the remodeling.
I know material prices and everything have gone up, and then you add just the logistics of the COVID and all that stuff into the mix, and you got a real challenge.
We definitely need the building.
Right.
Because we are running out of space. I laugh all the time that I don't want just an expansion and I want another floor because of the amount of people and also the amount of services that we're offering. It's been pretty exciting that we've been able to hire in the community students that have trained with us now, which is, Randy, it means it's actually working.
Yeah.
It's actually working.
Who'd have thunk it, right?
Yeah, I know. The ones that we train and we love, and they're coming back and they're choosing us.
Well, I know some of the conversations we've had in here with some of the students that were being trained here, they seem to have a passion for and/or a real appreciation for the small town atmosphere where you really do get to know your patients. Not only, you know, and it's got to be a challenge at times for you and other doctors because you not only see them in your office, but oh yeah, you go out to dinner and someone comes up and you know, tells you in the middle of your dinner that I got this pain or whatever. I can't imagine what a challenge that would be on a daily basis.
What I think they really appreciate is that this is a ministry. You know,
Right.
It's not a job.
Right.
It's a vocation.
Mhm.
It's not a profession. And these are students who are choosing this. They are choosing Payson. They're not answering an ad in a magazine.
They're choosing to approach medicine from a spiritual standpoint.
They're
kind of.
from a whole person care standpoint.
Right.
So Dr. Michaels hired 2 PAs that were our students. We could not have asked for better women to have joined the team. These are the KRIM of our country, and they're meld of compassion and intelligence. And so they're also now at the Christian Clinic. We have another PA who is moving up to Payson, and she's just dynamite as well. Lynn Vigil is volunteering, and she's doing a lot of teaching over there.
She's got a lot of experience here in Rim Country.
And we are, I mean, Lynn is the gold standard of a nurse prac, and so she adds so much to the faculty that we have here in Payson.
Mm-hmm.
So having all of these providers there at the Christian Clinic, we don't run out of patients. It's not like anybody's staring at each other.
Every time I've been there, there's been a lot of people, and some of the numbers that you've talked about in the past as far as number of patients treated is astounding when you look at it overall like that.
We've been open since 2007, and we've had over 16,000 patients.
Wow.
Visits, yes. I think we would have been at 17,000 if we didn't have, where we could have counted some of the ones that we were taking care of, but they really weren't in the building.
That's like the entire population of Payson.
It is.
That's amazing.
And that's what God's asked us to do, is to take care of our community and to love God, love our community, and love each other.
Gotta love that.
Because one of the things with the Christian Clinic that's been such a blessing is this is a place where doctors and nurses and health professionals and community can come together and actually be ministered to. We have chaplains that are there, and our staff are very aware of what the stresses we're under, and so they pray with us. They pray for us. They recognize that we need that love. We need that, that care, that extra minute of time just to say, hey, can I get you some coffee, or can I, what can I do? And we're loved there.
How are you and the doctors you work around, how are they holding up through all this? Because I try to imagine, going home and taking off your PPEs and then dealing with, your family members and things like that, and trying to be safe and all of the stuff that's got to be going on in the back of your mind anyway. That it has to have been a pretty difficult year and a half.
It has been. It has been. Some days it feels like Groundhog Day.
Yeah, there you
Literally,
go. Where's Chevy Chase, but whatever his name was.
Yes.
Dan Aykroyd. No, not Dan Aykroyd. One of those guys from Saturday Night Live.
Yes, I'm trying to think.
A million years ago.
So it feels like Groundhog Day.
Right.
It's every day that we get up, we face COVID, we go to bed. We get up, we face COVID, go to bed. I mean, in some ways, I'm kind of happy that I'm a widow.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure that how a marriage would look like at this moment.
It would be tough.
Because my daughter is an adult. So because it is very time consuming, there's no real control over our schedules. My control is I know I get up and I know God's gonna let me go to bed at some point. And then from that point, I just pray that I'm listening to Him and listening to His wisdom.
Amen.
Because there's no way to tell what it's going to look like. And every time we think that one surge is over and now we can relax and we can sigh a relief, it's not. And Payson really hasn't had surges. We've gone up and we've stayed up. And maybe we go up more, but we've never gone down.
And all the projections right now seem to be looking worse. I mean, they even over in Prescott, I know we had a news story this last week that the Yavapai County purchased another semi-trailer configured into a refrigerated morgue.
For a morgue.
Because they didn't have any other refrigerated space. I mean, that right there is a pretty telling sign.
It really sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just in every way imaginable. There isn't any word to describe how this is. And
well, there's a few, but we can't use them on the air.
Okay.
But at any rate, again, that's a tremendous challenge. How is the Christian Clinic holding up throughout all of this?
You know, it's kind of like the fishes and the loaves. Every time that we think that we're done, we have nothing left to offer. All of a sudden, we have a donation that comes in, or of specific items, or donation in money that we're able to do something more for the population. The county has given us testing, so everybody is available for testing. We do a lot of parking lot work, and so patients are seen in the parking lot, in the cars. They do their own testing in the cars, so we try to minimize the exposure.
Right.
Almost all of my volunteers are in a high risk category.
Right.
So I need to protect them as well, and that means that we try to do everything to minimize the exposure. So that's why we're seeing patients in the car. If they need to be brought into the building, we do. We bring them in, but we screen them first. We make sure they don't have COVID, and then we'll see them. And then after the patient leaves, we sanitize that room, we close the door, and it doesn't get used again that day.
Wow. That's just a whole bunch of logistical challenges too.
So I need a bigger building.
Yeah, that would help.
I need a bigger building.
So
with a drive-through.
So now I'm guessing that the need for a bigger building is also tied to the need for bigger donors.
Yes. Yes.
Do we have any numbers to throw at this yet?
We're looking about that we need to raise about 200,000 more.
Wow. That shouldn't be too hard in this community.
No, and again, it's kind of fishes and loaves, and we're waiting and watching, because we can either talk about the work or do the work.
Right.
And that's for the entire medical community in Payson. We can either talk about it or do it, and we just don't have time to talk about it.
So how much square footage are you looking to add on to the Christian Clinic from its current configuration?
Well, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going up to 5,200.
From?
About 2024.
Wow, so about better part of double.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're going to be adding in an extra treatment room, so for minor surgeries, and a little bit bigger room, and then, like I said, 2 dental suites. And with the dental suites will be students that'll be coming up that'll be dental students working with Dr. DeQuatro and his group. We'll also have a bigger counseling center, which, as you know, it'll never be big enough.
Right.
And a teaching area, because the Christian Clinic is part of the accreditation for both the longitudinal program for the medical schools and all the training sites that we have, as well as it will be a part of the accreditation for the residency program.
Very cool. And how many students are working up here this year?
We usually have 9 at one time, and that's the max that we can do. So we have students that are here for at least 3 months, but we have students now that are here for 9 months and a year now.
Wow.
And it's going to continue to be stretched, because the goal is them to be up here for 9 months to a year. We don't want them shorter. Otherwise, one, it causes problems with just our staff. They're having to learn new names all the time, and kind of a reactive attachment disorder. It's like, why should I learn your name? Because you're going to leave. Why should I invest in you? Because you're going to leave.
Right.
And so once the students are here for a while, both at Christian Clinic and the hospital in Ponderosa, they become part of us. I mean, they grab my heart.
Sure.
And I feel like when they leave, they're taking a piece, they're taking a piece of us with them.
Beautiful. Well, I look back and think about when the Payson Christian Clinic was first coming into fruition, and not really knowing exactly where all that would go, and what's happened in the past decade is really astounding.
It is.
I mean, the numbers you mentioned yourself, you treated like 16,000 plus patients.
Mm-hmm.
That right there is astounding. But I think the faith-based focus and the fact that you're meeting the whole patient needs, not just the physical, but also the spiritual and emotional and everything, that it's a whole different experience for people when they visit Payson Christian Clinic versus probably anything they've experienced before.
This is what we want.
Exactly.
That's what our prayer is. The expansion plans, Dr. Munoz and I sat down and we went through the expansion plans. And because Dr. Munoz, Dr. Michaels, and I are the ones that sat around the table with Jerry Payton,
Right.
and just prayed through this, and we were able to get the licensing, because we're unusual is that we're a licensed outpatient treatment center. So we're on equal grounding with any outpatient treatment center in the state. We have the same guidelines, we have the same inspections, we have the same expectations. And so we did that because we wanted to be a gold standard. We didn't want to just be a clinic where we may be, we may do this, we may do this. We wanted to follow exactly what every other licensed clinic in the state did.
Right.
So sitting with Dr. Munoz and going over the plans with him, he was just so funny because he's like, okay, my room needs to be bigger. I want a bigger treatment room. You can make your exam rooms a little bit smaller because my room needs to be bigger. But just that time with him just to remember what it was like when we first started and we had 2 rooms, and now we're talking about 5,200 square feet.
Praise God, that's amazing.
It's just awesome.
And it's neat to hear that everybody's still talking with Dr. Munoz. I know he's had some medical challenges and that he's dealing with and everything. And we probably shouldn't talk about that here on the radio, but nonetheless, there's been a lot of people that have really poured their hearts out into this thing, and it seems to be being blessed.
It is, and it is right now. It's really the place where we know that is safe for us.
Right.
It's a place where we are able to kind of just take a breath.
Well, I know, at least in my weird experiences, it has seemed to me that sometimes in the midst of the most profound chaos is when you can really see God's hand at work the most.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's very true at Payson Christian Clinic.
It is, and something that, Randy, that you and I talk about a lot is the relationship that we have with people overseas.
Right.
And my mentors from the Philippines.
From the Ateneo de Zamboanga University Medical Center in Zamboanga City in the far south Philippines.
Yes, and someday we're going to be able to go there. I just pray. That's my prayer. But in the community of Christian physicians that's in the Philippines and in Singapore and Hong Kong, the ones that I've worked with over all those years, their community has just flourished. They, as Christian doctors and Christian medical professionals, they have taken this opportunity to grow closer,
Right.
to grow deeper in their relationship with God. They have really grown amazing bonds with their students and with their students' families.
Right.
They've been an incredible model of what we want here in Payson, that we want here in the United States.
And in a pretty tumultuous environment. I mean, that people that aren't familiar with the southern Philippines, down way south there's a lot of militant variables between Muslims and Christians down there. And it's not, I mean, I've been to Zamboanga City. They had me over there a few years ago to get an honorary degree, which was all well and good. But I mean, that's a tough environment. And here you got these doctors that get their degree and everything, and you would think, or at least I would think, being a spoiled, rotten American, that boy, they'd want to just get the heck out of there and go somewhere else. And they want to go back to where they were at because they know what the challenges are and what the needs are, and they want to make a difference. And then all for the glory of God. And I think the other weird thing that I saw when I was there was a group of physicians standing around together praying. And even though there was Muslims as well as Christians in the group, the prayer ended with "in Jesus' name," and that is mind blower.
Can I tell you an awesome story?
Sure.
So I figured this is our conversation.
You betcha.
In the middle of the night, because it seems so much of my life is in the middle of the night, I get a WhatsApp from a patient of ours from the Christian clinic who is in Kyrgyzstan. Okay, I still, at this moment, not quite sure where Kyrgyzstan is, but it's one of the stans over there,
yeah.
right? And so he has COVID. And he's got respiratory problems, he's got the fever, he's throwing up, the whole thing, a young man. And so he said, you gotta go to the ER because we need to see what your oxygen is. He didn't have a pulse ox. So he takes me on his WhatsApp to the ER in Kyrgyzstan. And so the doctors, many of them speak English, but I got to see the x-ray, I got to see the echo. So through the night, I got to go through his emergency room visit with him on FaceTime and WhatsApp. So in between all of that, I didn't know whether or not, whether they had Delta or what they had over there. So I called and talked with my Philippine doctor friends, and they were saying, well, we really think it's probably Delta. He's closer to India. So then I called Katie Raymer, she and her husband were doctors here in Payson, and now they're doctors in India. So I called Katie in India, and we had spent a lot of time taking care of COVID patients in the middle of the night because their wave was right after our wave.
Right.
So she didn't know how to take care of patients. So here in Payson, we taught them to take care of patients in India.
And because it's daytime over there when it's nighttime here, and so you obviously have given up sleep.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
And then we ultimately got our guy from Kyrgyzstan taken care of, and he's done very well. Unfortunately, he's also, he had some post-COVID residual, so he's here back in the States. But it was such a cool night because I got to talk to the Philippines, to Singapore, Katie Raymer, and get to go to the ER in Kyrgyzstan.
Yeah.
All through the Christian clinic.
And that is the way to go to the ER in Kyrgyzstan rather
yes.
than in person.
Yes, it was so great because he would just show me his echo on the phone, and I could read it. And so the telemedicine aspects of the Christian clinic, and with Ponderosa, and just in medicine in our town, we do it well.
Well, and it's COVID. Going back a few years with the work that you and I and Dr. Michaels had been doing with overseas stuff. With telemedicine, there was a lot of people that still didn't really know how to use that word in a complete sentence, and maybe a lack of willingness to get into that because, hey, I got a busy practice, I don't have time to learn new tricks, but COVID kind of shoved that down everyone's throat, and man, telemedicine has exploded from what I can tell.
It has, and we praise God because we had been doing telemedicine before, with Dr. Michaels and my practice also, both at the Christian clinic and Ponderosa. So it was a quick dime to turn on, but it wasn't a new dime to turn on. And many of my patients in Tonto, up in Forest Lakes, Heber, Happy Jack, even the patients in Pine and Strawberry, many of them would rather do telemedicine. My moms that have little kids, they love telemedicine because they don't have to get their children to sit still.
Gotta love it.
And I find that I get to know my kids better because they've gotten used to talking to Aunt Carolyn or Grandma and Grandpa on FaceTime. So they take the phone from their parents and start running around the house. I had one 3-year-old who gave me a tour of the entire house, her parents' bedroom, her bedroom,
lovely.
and then, showed me everything, and then showed me the inside of the refrigerator, shelf by shelf, and told me all this. Now, in those, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, I knew more about that little girl than I would ever see in the office.
And right off that, taking a tour of the fridge, that would be interesting. The other thing along the same lines that I've heard is that when it comes to people with psychological or emotional problems, I would have guessed going into this that they would be very hesitant to using telemedicine because of perhaps paranoia and things like that would just be exacerbated by this experience. And the opposite has actually been true, where people feel more empowered and enabled by being able to hang up if they want to or whatever, and so you're able to get through that much better.
Yep, there's a definite control that's given to patients. The other thing is that they don't have to dress up.
Yep.
They only want to put a shirt on. That's fine.
That's a good thing.
But the biggest thing is that their dog can be on their lap, their cat can be on their lap or beside them, and so a lot of the white coat syndrome kind of aspects of medicine disappear with telemed.
I like it.
And Arizona has made telemed parity, which means that the visit on telemed is equal to a visit that's in the office.
Yeah. And is the telemedicine tools, are they at the Payson Christian Clinic, is that a big part of what's going on there now?
It definitely has been through the, for patients that are failing the screening. But we have patients because of COVID that are traveling. I mean, a number of patients have become truck drivers, or they have traveled to other places out of Payson for jobs.
Right.
So they can continue through telemedicine to get their care. It's pretty interesting when I have a patient and I'll say, "Where are you? Pennsylvania? Do you want to see the inside of the cab of my truck?" And
That's cool. Hey, we're just about out of time now. If someone, if something that we've said here has, tugged at the heart a little bit, and you'd like to either know more about the Payson Christian Clinic, well, first of all, you can go online and learn quite a bit, right?
Yep.
At what address?
At PaysonChristianClinic.com.
That's pretty creative. And if people want to make a donation and try and support the amazing work that you're doing, how do they go about doing that?
It's Giveify is on there, so that there is a secure online giving
Oh, cool. Right on the website.
Button, widget,
Yeah,
what do you call that thing?
Doohickey.
Yeah, that doohickey. We are a tax credit, Arizona tax credit. We're
So-
actually one of the original ones here
So
in
if you
Payson.
have a tax liability that you're staring at, why give it to Uncle Sam when you can keep it right here, making a big difference in Rim Country?
Huge, and it's $400 for single and $800 for married.
Right.
But again, we're a licensed outpatient treatment center, and we're getting a lot of statewide and national attention, and it's a way to make Payson proud.
Yeah, people are really, you're setting the bar for a lot of other people to want to replicate that. That's a wonderful thing.
We hope so, and that's definitely one of our goals.
And again, you can go online to PaysonChristianClinic.com
Mm-hmm.
and find out more information there. And Judy, as always, we appreciate having you in here. I know we're going to have you in later this week talking on a whole other topic,
Yep.
and we look forward to that. But right now, we got our listeners back to more of their favorite music. Has some tunes coming up from the Rascals, Vince Vance, and the Valiants, Ella Fitzgerald, and more. This is Tongue Twister Monday. Hope you're enjoying listening to Community Radio 96.3 FM, KRIM. Good morning.
That was fun. So the coolest thing